And it looks like I am live. And my webcam is a little out of whack at the moment. There we go. I don't know if the webcam needs to be there, but so you guys who of course are not here yet will forgive me for a fairly impromptu session, which is what I've been kind of having lately. Truth of the matter is, impromptu session. Ignore that guy in the background. Truth of the matter is, it's a little dicey proposition because the other day I live streamed and unbelievably the whole time I never saved my work. I'm not joking. So I just posted this live stream session on Discord. And so, here we are. Fan Futurama is the topic of the day. Hey, Ross, how you doing, brother? And so here's where we're at. And this is what I figured I'd do. I figured I'd live stream. As I say, it's a little dicey proposition because getting caught up in the live streaming process and forgetting to save my work is pretty stupid, and I don't want to do that. So, but I thought, okay, we'll give this a try. We'll give this a try. And so we're going to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, because there are basically 4 things we could talk about. One is we just could rock and roll on this shot. So we've got a shot of Bender, and I need to make some progress with this. Basically, Bender's arms. We've played around in the past here with doing, using the plastic tool or whatever to, save early, save auto. Well, I've actually set up auto saving in both Tahoma and Krita, so I think we're probably okay. But yeah, and honestly, the first failure cost me, it probably cost me an hour. The second one, it actually happened again today though, and I wasn't live streaming, so I guess there it is. But that one only cost me about 10 minutes, so not a huge thing. But I guess I'm just having too doggone much fun working on this thing. So anyway, as I said, there are 4 things we could talk about. We could break down this shot of Zoidberg. We could break down, the process and or some of the lessons learned with Hermes. And then there's music. Actually, I could always open up Reaper, and this crazy music here.
Exactly.
This actually took. Hey, Marie. So you can hear a bunch of vocal sound effects. But this probably took about 45 minutes to do it. I figured it would take longer, and it's certainly not finished. Okay. But it's a pretty good approximation. And like I said, I just pulled up the music, and then so anyway, what are we going to talk about? Are we going to just work on Bender? This is the state of the channel trailer so far, so it's moving along pretty good. I'll go ahead and play this through once.
Good news, everyone! Futurama has new episodes coming to Hulu!
Hooray! Sweet collection of show resurrections!
It'll just get Wernstrommed again. Wernstrom!
Okay, so clearly we're going to have a lot of fun with Wernstrom. Okay, so what do we want to do? It's kind of up to you guys. If nobody cares, which is perfectly fine, then I'm just going to keep rocking and rolling on Bender. If somebody has an interest in what might have been learned or encountered in the process of doing these 2 shots, well, and there's also this one. I mean, honestly, This is the one I was working on the other night where I didn't save a bunch of work and I had to redo the foot. I had to redo a lot of stuff, the footsteps and everything. And of course, Darren helped out with that, which was pretty cool. He had some suggestions that were quite useful in terms of making sure that Professor Farnsworth was in perspective. Okay, so Ross votes for Bender. Okay, so the thing with Bender, one of the, and I suppose this is kind of the point about the music, is that nothing about, I don't want anything to be, everything about Fan Futurama has to be original. That's my sort of little requirement. So the closest we ever come to being not original would be using some screenshots from the show in order to just save time with characterization, basically making sure people are on character. So in this case, I did have a picture of Bender, which I traced because, you know, why am I gonna kill myself reinventing the wheel? Now, to be fair, in the case of both Zoidberg and Hermes, I did not. Well, actually, the very first drawing of Hermes, I think I did trace. Come to think of it, and I referred to the show as far as the lip sync shapes, but Zoidberg was completely just, you know, I just doodled it and made it work. So the other thing that's obviously in play here today is that I've been using Krita for everything, and on this shot, I've switched to Tahoma. Really, main reason being that I knew that, because Bender's rigid, you know, he's got a rigid skeleton, exoskeleton, so it really just made more sense to use Tahoma's more reliable transformation tools for animation. That's probably the biggie. And plus, I figured, you know, let's just kind of get back into, I haven't been really playing around in Tahoma too much recently, so. Okay, so the motion, the challenge of this whole project, one thing that makes it different from, say, Salt and Light, is that everything is at 24 frames per second. So, as you can see, these keyframes here are on 2s. In the case of the transformation tools, same thing. I'm not using constant interpolation. It's probably set to linear, but what I do is I set a keyframe, and then I just copy that keyframe, and you know, to the point where I want to go ahead and transition to another keyframe. So generally, you're going to have 2 duplicates in a row, unless you have, like you have here, where it's just kind of a smooth motion from here to here. So the thing I've learned about animation with Futurama is you basically don't move stuff until you have to, but when you do, you're definitely going to be on 2s, and you're going to be on 1s kind of a lot, actually, which is fine. I love the way it's looking. You know, I'm having fun doing it, so. So there it is. So what's going on with Bender? Well, I looked at some reference images, one in particular, and counted the divisions in his arm and determined that there are actually 6. Okay, so basically the thing to do now is I'm not going to try to use digital tools for Bender's arms. At some point I may do some 3D stuff, particularly with Bender, and obviously there's other things like you know, in the past I created a 3D scene of the lounge, and I do have the beginnings of a model of the Planet Express ship that was done in Blender, but those aren't, you know, important right now. So we're gonna do everything the hard way, and the reason is, I have to say, and Ross will, I'm sure you're gonna agree with me on this, Ross, and it's one of the reasons I'm enjoying Fan Futurama, actually, is it's really reiterating one of the key lessons I think I've learned in all the years now, about 3 years here I've spent maybe pushing 4 actually, doing animation related stuff here on YouTube. The the thing I've learned over and over is that when you try to use digital tools to ostensibly get leverage and save work, it turns out the slow way is the fast way. And if you just kind of did everything by brute force, kind of enjoy the process of drawing and just do it, you find that not only does it actually wind up getting done faster usually, but more importantly, it usually looks better, because it takes a fair amount of work to take digital tools like for example translation animation and to do it convincingly so it doesn't look like too smooth and things like that. So it sounds like Zuko's chiming in. He wants everyone to know that he's here. So having said that, the idea here with Bender would be, as I've said many times, let's work from the known to the unknown. So what's known with Bender's arm is this little bit right here. We know where his hand is going, and by the way, there may be other tweens that get added in here, so I'm not going to say that there won't be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and by the way, Ross too, I'll say that if you see anything I'm doing where you're a better animator than I am. So if you see something I'm doing where you're going, oh yeah, that's right, do it that way, or no, I wouldn't do it that way, feel free to chime in. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get the motion, and the gag here, of course, is this just came to me. I'm like, I got to do something with Bender while he's while he's saying his line of dialogue. And so I figured, well, why doesn't he take his cigar and just stick it on his, little thing on top of his head, play his card while he's saying his line about being Wernström. Now, the interesting thing about the editing, since this is a channel trailer, everything's moving pretty fast. The end of the shot right here, when he grabs the cigar again, that doesn't make it into this shot. That's already been edited out. So what I'll do is actually create this shot, and then later when Bender says this line,
Times 5 if you count the third and fourth times.
okay, so when he says that line, we'll come back and add back in this bit where he takes the cigar back off and sticks it in his mouth. Sound like a plan? Okay. All right, so let's go back to the tippy top. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. And what we want to do is get this rigid bit animated. And then what I'll do is probably animate this bit too. And then we'll make the rubber hose for his arm and then figure out the divisions of it. So that's the workflow as far as I can see. So here he's grabbing a card that he's playing because they're all sitting around the table playing cards. Okay, that's that. And then obviously we've got this bit here. I mean, clearly here there's going to be some tweens. I do want to have my reference. Okay, yeah, because you do see a ridge. There's some thickness to this metal here. Okay, that's actually all the keyframes. So now let me look at this bit. And theoretically, I'm not really gonna use skins any more than I have to. I like the skins on Krita better, frankly, but so that's kind of the top of it. So I'm just looking at a screenshot from the show to get this, make sure I get the shape of this bit correct. It's kind of funny because, I really wasn't doing any animation for golly, I'm going to say a couple months. And, you know, it's so much work. I was really starting to ask myself, geez, you know, do I really even like it that much, you know? And so this, working on Fan Futurama, I have to say, especially probably because I am working at 24 frames per second, and I'm seeing more of the kind of smooth animation that I suppose an animation purist would really be liking. I'm having a good time doing it. It's really been a lot of fun, which is probably why I've suddenly become more productive again. But I can see where somebody like like Full Chain Animation, you know, who's from Philippines, used to do work for Warner Brothers Television, and when he came around here to YouTube, you know, he was telling about how he had really quit animation for a while because he got so burned out, and I could totally see how that could happen to somebody. This feels not quite right. There we go. Okay, and then, yeah, I like that. All right, good. Okay, so we've got the little metal bit, and now, I guess we need to do the, guess we're not done.
Thought I was done. Bad news, everyone. There's more to do.
Just in the last few years, I've been embracing working on threes a lot. Well, and I actually like the aesthetic of 8 frames per second, but not definitively. You know what I mean? I really like full animation too. But of course, for me, ultimately, it's really like Futurama is really about the at the beginning, it's about the comedy and the voices, you know, because it's fun to do, and I do think my script is funny, you know. So, however, once you get into it, seeing it all work together with the visuals is pretty cool. You know, it's like, okay, this is definitely a gratifying process. Okay, this, I don't like that. I'm trying to really be vigilant here as to when I'm getting sloppy, you know, and letting something be too, you know, stupid looking. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, that's wrong. So that would be about there. And then you'd have a couple of these clustered close together there. But I want to make sure that line's going to show up, because otherwise his arm looks too thick. Okay. So this is the easy part, the rubber hose. I mean, you got to get the width of the hose correct. Okay, and then what I'm doing, I don't know how anybody else does it, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to subdivide it and then just kind of break that into thirds. And that gives me my 6 segments. That seems to work pretty well. And then, of course, sometimes his arms stretch a bit. Okay. Something about that doesn't quite look right. I feel like this wants to be maybe a little higher up that way. So another thing I do like in Tahoma is I like the eraser. I can just hit the E key and lasso, which Krita, you can do that in Krita, but you have to hit G and then the E key, or else set up a brush that creates shapes that gives you the same effect as a lassoing type eraser. Okay, so then 1, 2, and 1, 2. This one's a little off, so we can just grab that and let's zoom in so we can, whoops, lost our selection. There we go. B key. Alright, again, obviously we're gonna have some tweening there. Nice and smooth. And then I suppose after we get the rubber hose animation on his arm complete, then the thing to do would be to do the fingers, deal with his fingers. Bender has a fairly unique fingers situation. Okay, and I'm going to let him, I'm going to play with the idea that he's stretching out a little bit here. So I would say that should probably be more like there. Little shift in his weight there. Okay, so now this is a spot where I probably should pay attention to the skins in order to get the spacing right so I don't change something in kind of a dumb way. Okay, that's all I needed. And then again, this is the part of the shot that will wind up actually being a second shot. Okay, so we got a little bit of thickness there in the arm, getting a little too thick. So boom, boom, and boom, boom. Okay, and then here we do need to have a bit of roundness here. That, I'm not sure I love that. Probably that's the hardest thing to get right with Bender is when you're getting some obvious overlap here. I would say probably something like that's going to be acceptable, I think. Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, clearly there's going to be some more tweening required. Otherwise, it just don't look like Futurama. At the ink stage, I'm going to say that his body will be on a separate layer. I may put the body on the same layer as the head, actually, but certainly his arm needs to be on a second layer, or a separate layer. Okay, so we've got this. Okay, so the known here, I suppose, would be the cigar. So we're not really showing his thumb here. So I'm going to redraw that. But now that I kind of know where the little finger things are, that will inform where we stick the cigar. That'll work. Okay, and so what I was thinking here was we're going to see the fronts of his fingers curling around, and then here we will see his other digit. Yeah, that's definitely going to require some tweens because to get from here to here is quite a move. Okay, so now we could go could actually do something like that. And and plus popping it onto the pokey thing is a bit of a, there's some animation there too, so. Okay, so let me think about this for a second. This is one of those things that would be easy to give it short shrift because of not thinking through the fact that you're going to have some more animation keyframes to get from here down to here. So that may not make sense, but and by the way, I'm going to redo that. I don't like that. I don't like that either. You wouldn't think. It just, well, it's like I said about going from the known to the unknown. By putting the cigar in there, that sort of forces the fingers to appear in a certain way. That'll work. Okay, so here he's grabbing a card. And now we're back to this again, which I think the actual, okay, I guess the image, this imagery is full HD, even though I don't usually work in full HD, and I just scaled it. So I probably should have cropped it, but then I would have had to resize every single one of these drawings because I got into it a ways before I realized that I was working in full HD. There are probably those out there who will go, why do you work in broadcast HD? It's purely a performance consideration, really. Computer performance. It's not as important in Tahoma. Tahoma is more performant for like full speed playback and things like that than Krita is. Okay, here we're having to fudge Bender's anatomy just a bit because of the way this junction point for his arm bumps into the cylindrical body cavity. But there it is. Okay. Don't want to make this too big or too small. And that's supposed to have a little bit of a curvature to it, actually. Yep, that feels pretty good. Yep. Okay. Now we'll get the little door, little hatch that he has on his costume. Okay. Okay, I guess I got ahead of myself. I keep forgetting and jumping to something else, to the neglect of frames 8 or drawings 8 and 9. So I hope everyone's having happy holiday preparations out there. I'm sure you're all been busy, busy, busy. This time of year tends to be a bit crazy. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the start here and start working these lines through to the end. Okay. Now let's get the top of the door. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Okay, this is a little off. That should actually be a bit straighter. Same thing here. Let's just erase it. Well, that's what I was talking about. In Krita, it'd be tempting to like use the liquify tool to adjust that curvature a little bit. Honestly, it's probably faster to just redraw it. Okay, so let's go back to the top here. Okay. I do not think I'm going to wind up working out the lip sync here today because I need to study the way they do those lines on his mouth. From what I've seen, there are actually basically just regular phonemes that they use. So if I'm not mistaken, well, okay. So yeah, he's got basically two lines and then a bunch of lines going this way. So what they do is they just talk with these lines. And then of course his whatever we're going to do with his eyes is going to obviously be pretty important here too. Okay, checking up here on the, are you going to mostly in between or mostly plastic tool? I think I'm going to in between. By the way, sorry for crowding the, I don't even know why I have this on, to tell you the truth. The webcam just looks stupid. Plastic tool work I put on 2s or 3s to make it look more like it's in between. Right, that's a good idea. Or you can just set your default interpolation to constant, and then you don't have to put the extra keys in. Like if this was set to constant interpolation, I'm duplicating this key here so that it doesn't move from here to here. His head doesn't move, and then it moves quickly from here to here. If it was constant interpolation, of course, you wouldn't get the interpolation from here to here like you get right there. It would just jump from this to this. So your mileage may vary. I just haven't used I haven't used Tahoma in so long that, okay, that was stupid. Well, how did I manage that? Better save my work because just got distracted by the stupid bar. And why do we even have the bar here? I don't even want the bar. on this window, but I don't want to fiddle around with trying to figure out how to get rid of it, because I've got 3 screens and I've got the bar on. I guess the bar is on the left side on all the other screens. Anyway. Okay, so let's pause here for half a second. Consider, really, the and by the way, this probably isn't going to be a super long session, because honestly, I've worked on this a lot today. I mean, I knocked out the theme song music, finished the Hermes shot. What did I do? I touched up Zoidberg. I did the complete Hermes shot start to finish. And then I also knocked out the theme music. So it's like, okay, that's kind of a lot. Maria has barely touched the plastic tool in ages. Okay, and this obviously over here, for those who are keeping score, is Leela. I didn't give her any lines of dialogue in the channel trailer for the simple reason that I don't have a good way to do Leela's voice. And believe it or not, I actually think I probably could do Leela's voice myself. Yes, I'm not joking. You know, she really kind of talks like this. You know, she's always saying, "Oh, Fry." She's got that Katie Sagal. She's got that kind of thing going on. And if you got the inflection right and then pitched it up just a little bit to make my voice box seem smaller, it might work. I just haven't really played with it yet. So, okay, so let's pause here for half a second, because the hand with the cards, I suppose, probably should just be in another layer. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to do it. Okay. So this is going to loop around like that. And I'm not going to even bother putting the lines in at the moment, because they're really just kind of there for reference at the moment, so that I can just see what I'm doing from the standpoint of getting his cards drawn. I guess we'll do it like this. Nah, I don't like that. I'm going to say I presume that they are playing poker. So that means 5 cards, friends. Alright. So let's just see. Okay. So basically, well, not basically, actually, this follows through all the way to here, with the caveat, actually, that I forgot the card. He's got to remove the card, so hello. I'm grabbing this, I'm clicking it, and it's not letting me drag it. Okay. Dome is a decent piece of software, but I have to say, it's not like it doesn't have some idiosyncrasy, because it definitely does. In fact, it crashed on render a little while ago. Alright, so he's going to play that card. And then, boom, there was that little shift. Do we redraw this? Well, sort of. Let's put in a duplicate. And then here, what I'm going to do is grab this. This is what remains rigid. So we'll move that over like that. And then we can just erase the rest. And connect it all up. Okay, so we're going to have to see that little bit there, of course. So as I say, I don't think I'm gonna even bother drawing the lines in there because who cares, you know? We can do that at the ink stage. Okay, here, this is probably problematic. Oops, I did not mean to do that. I hit the animate tool accidentally. Okay, so I just want to have that little shift in his weight. Okay, having a dyslexia moment, and the reason for that is that I'm jumping keyframes and I'm forgetting that the layer that I'm working on only has 2 keyframes, so I'm not successfully jumping through the keyframes that are actually on other layers. Makes sense. I don't like this though. Something about this is bugging me. His arm looks awkward. Does not feel right. So I think I'm going to scoop it down more. This is where I'm feeling kind of amateurish because I feel like this is the simple positioning of his arm should not be particularly difficult. I guess what I'll do is go ahead and put these in just to make sure that it feels like it's doing what I want it to do. Yeah, it is. Okay. I guess I'm glad I did that. Okay. Well, since I'm committed to doing it now, I might as well see it through, right? Okay. Holy cow, it's been 45 minutes already? Jeez. Okay, yeah, so this would be my here's what I think's going on here. I think I've actually got the scale of his arm wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the centering. This is just reference, right? So I'm going to take this, put the rotational point, and then what I want to do is right at this top here. I think that's better. Yeah, about 93%. Now, per Ross's question, you know, you could like right here, if you wanted to, put in a rotation key, you know, just a little something. That's interesting. Why did that one not change? Interesting. But anyway, you know, what I'm thinking is judicious use of the animation tools here is probably okay. And by the way, I want to copy this. Copy. And then I'm just going by feel here, but what I'm thinking is I'm going to just go ahead and paste this in here and then go 2 frames forward and just add a little bit of a change. Just to give him a little bit of life. So what I was trying to say, see, you look at that. Now look at what that looks like though. That really doesn't look very good. Right here. Boom. You see that? That's horrible. Yeah. That's where your digital tools really bite you in the butt. It's too smooth. It's too smooth. So there, having just a tiny move, I don't mind it. So okay. I tell you what, I think think I'm probably going to wrap it there. Obviously, the this just needs to be extended down. We'll go ahead and let's render this and cut it into the show just to kind of see what we've got, and then I think I'll call it a night, because like I said, I've done a bunch of work on this today, and I'm frankly a little pooped. All right, let's see what we've got here.
Good news, everyone! Futurama has new episodes coming to Hulu.
Hooray! Sweet collection of show resurrections.
It'll just get wordstrummed again.
Okay, the timing on that looks pretty good.
Malefactor had us cancelled twice.
I thought it was 3 times.
5 if you count the third and fourth
I
time.
like that. The timing on this is wrong, but I really like when Bender says this line.
5 if you count the third and fourth.
He just, and then he takes a toke of his cigar. That's pretty cool.
Times.
If the show gets canceled again, people can just come here.
What? Where are we exactly?
Okay. And so then obviously I've got to do a sort of a reboot on the show theme. So, I mean, not the theme, but the visuals. The logo. I'm gonna change it from Futurama to Fan Futurama, stuff like that. So,
Okay. Are there any questions from the gallery before we wrap it up?
probably not. Okay. All right. This has been a good almost an hour. Well, 46 minutes to just check in with my tribe. And so that's the status of it. It's going well, and I would say the channel trailer's probably about a third done, so that's pretty good. So you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and as you guys know, there will be more.